Hello everyone. In my last tutorial I tried to discuss on couple of things like creation of function modules, how to call a remote function module, how to debug a remote function module or an update function module, calling an update function module in update task, what is v1 and v2 update, how to decide a v1 and v2 update and how system takes care of it. I also discussed about lock objects. I also discussed about submitting a job programmatically by using the function modules job open, job submit and job close. I was also discussing about the parallel processing concept, how to receive the results from a remote function which was called in a new task, that is starting new task extension. Update task as I already said, and output types we will discuss while working on the forms, so smart forms, scripts or Adobe forms. So we will not be discussing this for now, but then to understand this you should remember the concept of update task, so just keep it in your memory. I also remember that in my last video when I was trying to see whether the job was executed or not, I'm not sure whether it was done, and so let's see. I'm just going to SM37. I cannot see any job. So no jobs were scheduled by me. I think there was some issue in the system, it got hanged and all, but then just remember the concept and try it in your system. Job open, job submit or submit statement. So and then so today's okay, before that we will just have a look on the program again just to refresh the concept. Yeah, so this is something we created last time. Job open, it will open a job, then submit statement, or you can use a job submit function module. Job close. Actually here I should have given one variable whether the job was released or not, and then I think, yeah, so this is how we create a job in the program itself. So there could be a scenario that there is a big business process. For example, I'll try to talk about a business process. So the business process, and it's basically just assume that business process is designed via a custom program which probably you have created. Now there is a business process that there is a group of product, and let's say there are like 1 lakh product. I mean there are like some 10,000 groups. Each group contains some 100 products, and then it's like you have 1 lakh products in front of you. Now you get an order wherein the customer wants you to deliver all those 1 lakh products. Now there are two options. One is let's say there is a group of product which can be delivered immediately via, because let's say you are in India. Obviously I am in India, I am from India, so I'm talking about India. So let's say you are in India, you got an order of a product which actually is available in your warehouse in India. So what happens, you can select those products via product group or any other criteria, and you can do some operation, and then you can create an immediate delivery for that. So you already have an order in your system, you can immediately create a delivery by selecting, let's say, 50,000 materials. Now, and again you want that to happen in the background while you continue to work for remaining 50,000 materials. Now the difference here is Because the 50,000 materials are already available in your warehouse, you want to select them and you want to process them in background. So what you can do, let's say you have a report, ALV report, you have some 50,000 materials in front of you, you are selecting it and you are pressing the button in an ALV toolbar. If you remember, we have already done it in one of the videos. If you don't remember, just try to go through that. You'll just get the concept. So you hit there and then in the backend, it schedules a job. So it schedules a job of a new program, which will be given here. So it schedules a job of a program. So you are doing your operation in program A, the output of A, but in turn in the back end you are creating the deliveries via program B. So what actually you are doing, you are submitting the program B with all those 50,000 materials selected, so that in the back end it creates a job of program B and then creates all the deliveries. That is one option. And while you are still remain in the front end and you are doing some other operation, the other operation is like few of the materials are not available in your warehouse, so you want to order it from some other warehouse, so you want to create an internal order and then internal delivery and all those things. So all depends. So this is why we require these function modules to schedule a job via program. So that is it. Okay, now today's agenda would be basically it's on request from one of my viewers, and then she wanted to know, she's little new to the AMS projects, AMS concepts. So she wanted to know that what exactly an AMS project would be. Of course, the demand is like a week's back or so by the time it will be uploaded to YouTube, she will be having some idea, but still let's try to understand it from scratch. So, and I have already discussed the concept of AMS project in one of my initial video tutorials, wherein I was talking about all the SAP projects. But then let's do it again quickly for 5-10 minutes, and then I'll just talk about some important transactions related to AMS project itself. So an AMS project is basically application maintenance and support. Few people can call it AMS, few people can call it ASM, application support and maintenance. So it all depends. The person who pays for it, he can just put any name, it doesn't matter. So all depends on your client. So but yes, AMS is the more appropriate and the standard wording which I have heard in my career of more than 11 years. So AMS is nothing but a support project. Now there is an implementation project wherein you are implementing SAP from scratch, which means you are following the complete software development life cycle, which is like business blueprint. And then so before this requirement gathering, then business blueprint, and then realization, and then go live, and then support. So please go through my earlier video on this. Let me just quickly go there on the YouTube channel and let's see. So SAP projects, process landscapes. So I have explained everything here. So I would request the people who want to get more details on the implementation project and all, please go through this video. So and then there would be some more steps, like after go live or before go live there would be a cutover phase, master data migration and all. So a lot of things. Now that's about implementation. So having said that, I also explained it earlier that nowadays there is no I would say kind of green field available. You cannot go and just cut the grass, because already what I'm trying to say is that the companies who really can afford an ERP and who really want to implement an ERP system within their premises or whatever way they want, they are already having in most of the cases. The big ones or the medium-sized companies. It could be SAP, it could be Oracle, it could be any other small ERP like IEFS or something is there, Ramco or any other ERP. Microsoft Navision is there, Microsoft Dynamics is there. So any of them would be implemented. So, but again, I mean, having said that, yes, I mean, not 100% of the clients are having, still there is a scope, but that scope is very narrow. So we will not talk about implementation projects because we don't have many nowadays. So coming to support project. So basically, so what kind of project we normally get? We can get an upgrade project, which means somebody is already working on a lower version, could be 4.7, and they want to upgrade to the latest version because of the benefits offered by SAP in the new version, like ECC 6 and all. So that is one. So you can get an upgrade project. I have already discussed about it. Now you can get an enhancement project. Enhancement project is like you already delivered some 500 objects as a part of your go live, and then you knew that remaining 200 objects cannot be delivered during the go live before the go live phase, and also they were not go live critical. So that would be like an enhancement project. Later you can take it up. Then the next one would be a rollout project. So rollout project is like what you did, you implemented SAP for one of your entities, let's say, which is a combination of, let's say, 10 plants, or which is a combination of the plants within one country. It's like, let's say, India, and then later you want to extend it to China. So which means you can do a rollout in China. So it would be like a global rollout. Now global rollout and local rollout. Global rollout is like obviously worldwide. Local rollout means you implemented in plant A and then you are just rolling it out to plant B. Accordingly, in solution manager, I have also discussed about solution manager in one of my videos. So solution manager is basically, it offers some pre-defined solution for upgrades, and then that is basically the concept of global and local templates. So basically whatever you have already implemented will be available in that template, and then users can review and modify it accordingly, and later it can be just implemented as it is using Solman. That is a rollout project. So now coming to AMS. So AMS is the main project, the important one, because most of the cases the upgrade or the rollout or the enhancement project you get as a part of your AMS project. So AMS project is actually not the correct terminology. AMS engagement would be the correct terminology, which means you or your company managing the complete SAP, I would say, infrastructure or SAP systems, all the SAP systems available in the company, in your client. So it's like there are big projects wherein the companies the service providers are managing just the whole IT infrastructure. It could be hardware, it could be software, it could be any XYZ system, which may include or may not include SAP. Now the other scenario is you are just supporting the SAP system, rest of the things are with some other vendor. So whatever be the case, if there is a good client you are working for, it will have a proper AMS guidelines in place, which is actually defined, or which is actually inspired by the ITIL process. So ITIL is a standard process. It should be in caps, so just ignore it. ITIL is a standard process, and it's basically, it comes from UK. It's not from US. ITIL. So it's called in Information Technology Infrastructure Library. So it's I think the latest one is version 3, on which I got my certification. I'm not sure about if version 4 is there or not. So it's basically, it's a set of guidelines. Again, it's a set of guidelines only. They did their research and they came up with a standard set of guidelines, which actually includes various standard practices across the different industry verticals, different industry groups, different users. So based on the best practices and I would say efficient practices, they came up with a set of concepts, which is called ITIL concepts. Now if there is a good client, proper AMS infrastructure and everything is in place, so ITIL processes would be followed, and then we will be talking about this only Otherwise, based on the company's budget, they can alter the process, and then we also can't do anything in that. But let's talk about a proper ITIL process now. So as a part of ITIL process, there would be various layers of support. So various layers of support, again, those layers could be with different vendor or it could be with the same vendor. All depends on the company, their budget and their strategy. So so what happens, we'll talk about a simple scenario. I'm using let's say an Airtel mobile, I mean Airtel SIM card. So Airtel is my service provider, or even the other, I mean the better example would be I'm using a broadband from Airtel. Now if you guys have faced it, I'm not sure, but if you guys have already faced it, you would know that whenever there is a problem, for example internet not working, so what happens, you give a call to the call center and it goes to somebody. So that somebody is nothing but he is from the level 1 support, we call it L1 support. Now what that guy does, he will ask you about the symptoms of the problem. So what exactly you did, what you want to achieve out of it, what exactly you are doing, what you want to achieve, and then what is actually you are achieving. So he will take all the details, and then what he will do, he will enter all the details in a database called KEDB. So KEDB is basically known error database, or sometimes we call it knowledge error database. So it's kind of knowledge which we have gathered out of various errors which we faced in the past. So for example, there is an error which comes repetitively. For example, my modem is not working, and if I reset my modem, it may or may not work. But then as a part of in a first, what he will do, he will ask you to do that, just to switch off and switch on the modem. So why he's doing that? Because a set of step is mentioned in his KEDB, which is actually provided by their experts. So experts, again I'll come later on that. So he will just go through certain steps, he will ask you to replicate those steps in front of you, and then he will be asking about the details. So what is happening, this may or may not resolve the problem. So again there is a KDB. Sometimes you might hear about Primus also. So Primus is nothing but a KDB. It's basically a Microsoft provided tool, I believe. So it stores the documents, or it will capture the error headline, and then it also the people who resolve that error. For example, there is an expert consultant who resolves a problem, so he will mention all the details in that Primus, and then it will actually be available to L1 guy, which is the level 1 support person. So he can access that error, and then he can see the steps, he can replicate the same steps to resolve the problem, and then 90% of the chance is there that the problem would be resolved. So level 1 is nothing but the filtration of the problem, so that before it actually goes to the experts, the problem would be resolved there itself. Then it's always better. Basically at level 1, companies will try to deploy the people with very less experience, or a kind of freshers, who actually will go through the scripts and then predefined scripts and try to resolve the problem. So that way companies will save huge cost here. The next one would be L2, which is level 2 support. So L2 is, again, it's like people who are in the experience range of 4 to 6 years, and who are like capable of resolving more complex issues. So for example, there is some step which is mentioned at level 1, and level 1 guy doesn't know how to execute that step from his end. So, and those steps must be executed in order to resolve the problem. So even though this guy knows the steps in KEDB, but he's not able to execute it because of the lack of experience, or maybe access issues due to security and all. He is not provided with the access. So he might approach an L2 guy, which is level 2 support, and then L2 guy would try to help L1 guys. In turn, they will be closing the ticket. But then there is an issue which is like in more complex in nature, or the most complex one, and neither L1 nor L2 can work on it. So that will be called L3. So mostly expert consulting. So experts will come into picture who are like heavily experienced, 10 plus years, 11 plus years guys, or they are in the industry for quite some time, or they are in the system for quite some time, they are in the landscape for quite some time. So that way L3 will come into picture. So this is basically this concept is inherited from ITIL concept actually. So L1, L2, L3, and then there will be another engineering team. Engineering team is nothing but someone who will actually take care of all the changes and all. So that is called CR process. So CR process is basically a change request. So at any point of time, if this guy or this guy finds that there is a bug in the existing program or in existing system and it should be resolved by modifying the system, he may or may not raise a ticket. I mean, he would raise a change request, or he might ask the user to raise a change request. So the user business group or the business lead or the BPU lead, they will raise a change request which will be assigned to these guys. Then these guys and these guys will coordinate amongst themselves, and then they will be monitoring the change, and finally there would be a release cycle through which the change would be moved to production. Now that is how an overall AMS works. Then parallelly they might get an enhancement project for which the team might be ramped up, or if the resources are having less work, then they might work on that. It could be support project, it could be anything else. So but then this is a typical concept. Now coming to, this is how the team size, the team hierarchy is, and then we have kind of tickets. We have we have very high priority ticket. So high priority ticket is like you'll hear the terms like SAP-1 priority means it should be resolved within 4 business hours. Normal SOW, I'm telling, SOW is statement of work, SLA is the service level agreement. So my service level agreement is that in 4 hours a SAP-1 ticket will be resolved, which means it's a high priority ticket which is affecting the production, because it's occurring in the production. Maybe more than 30-40 users are affected due to this, and then it's actually affecting the revenue. So that's why my SLA is within 4 hours I'll resolve this ticket so that the business runs normally as usual. And then that SLA is mentioned in my SOW, that is my statement of work which I signed for my client. So basically both the parties will sign an SOW. Now the next one would be like a medium one, which means it may or may not occur in production. The number of users would be like less than 10, and then it's not impacting any revenue. So what we will do, we'll tell them that we will resolve this in 8 business hours, or it could be any SLA negotiated between both the parties. And then we have a low priority ticket. So low priority ticket is like we'll do it in 24 business hours, which means only 1 or 2 users are impacted. It could be a very very particular problem, and then it's certainly not occurring in the production. Then next one would be like very low. So we have SAP-1, SAP-2, SAP-3. This is like SAP-4. So we will generally take all the enhancement as a part of very low priority or enhancements, SAP-4 priority. Then it will be estimated. So as a part of CR process, whatever the change is raised, it will be estimated both by functional and technical consultants in terms of the efforts. Let's say functional guy needs 20 hours to complete his configuration, technical guy needs 40 hours to complete his change, and then his or her obviously. So overall it requires some 60 hours of development effort, and then it requires some 20 hours of, let's say 30 hours of unit testing, requires another 20 hours of integration testing, then requires 10 hours of documentation. So this is a kind of budget we prepare, that 60 plus 30 is 90 plus 20, 110, and then 120. So it's basically the total change requires 120 hours. So it will be sent to the client or the business unit. Once they approve it, then the team will go ahead with the change. Unit testing will be done within the development system. It will be like predefined steps given by the functional consultants, executed by the ABAP consultant, and then evidences will be captured. Now there are tools like HPQC, that is HP Quality Center. In that they can log a bug also. It all depends on the client whether they have it or not. So we have, and then so it's like development, then unit testing. Integration testing will be done in the quality server, wherein they will just see the impact on all other modules. 10 hours documentation is like updating the technical spec and the functional spec. So this is a typical AMS process, and then I don't think that we should know anything else, anything more than this. Rest all depends on the client and their budget. So the process anytime it can be altered. Yeah, so talking about submit statement, as I said here, uh, for example, I have a scenario that in my program I want to call a new program. So I have already explained the example that it could be like for a background job, but then there could be requirement that you submit it in the foreground itself. So what we can do, we can just remove these statements, job open, job close. We can directly use a submit statement. So it's like uh, so it's like when we execute this report, let's just wait for the output. So you can see that as of now, if I click here, it takes me to VA03 transaction. Oh no, I'll just stop this, it will take a lot of time. So, but what I was trying to say that when you click here, it takes to VA03. Now there could be a scenario that when you click on a sales order, it should take you to a Z report and then you want to see the output of that report. In that case, as of now what we are doing, so as of now what we are doing, it actually set parameter and field and then calls the transaction. Instead, if there is a Z program, what you can do, you can use the submit statement. No need to use this. Let's say there is a Z report, submit that report via selection screen and then pass that field here, which means VBELN equal to VBELN, something like that. So that is your submit statement. Now parallel cursor, we'll talk about parallel cursor. I don't know why this is slow. Okay. I'm getting a call, I'll just take it. Okay. So we will just talk about parallel cursor method in this. So it's something like, okay, let's activate this. So it's something like when we have a scenario of loop inside loop, and whatever I'm telling is also related to the performance tuning, which is a major portion in AMS kind of projects, which means there could be a report which is running since long, and let's say for last 5 years, and slowly due to huge data volume, it's not performing as it should be. So then also this kind of improvement would help you. This kind of coding would help in the performance improvement of the program. So for example, it's like select, before this I need an internal table. So data it underscore vbak type table of, I'm directly referring this because we just want to understand the concept. We just don't want to do anything um, special. So wa underscore vbak type vbak it underscore vbap type table of vbap underscore vbap vbap. So what I'm doing, I'm just selecting some data, let's say 200 records. So select, let's go to VBAK table first. From VBAK into table t underscore VBAK up to 100 rows. So I hope you're getting me, because I have been doing it many times in my earlier videos. So I'm just checking if I got 100 records here, sorting it by VBEL, and that is the key field, and then I'm going to VBAP now. For all entries in IT VBAK, where weblen equal to VBAK hyphen VBELN. So if psi sub RC it's initial and not IT underscore BAP. So here I'm just added body of this, which is not required. So we'll sort this by sort IT VB APY VB ELN POSNR. So sorting it by order number and item number. So till now our code should be okay. So now we have 100 sales orders here, and then we have 100 sales order with their line items. So it could be like 200, 300 kind of records. Now let's say due to any reason, okay, let's say I have an internal table, kind of internal table. Types begin of ty underscore final, and then I have in this VBELN type VBELN POSNR type POSNR, and then we have Matner here. So let's say the requirement is that I want to take the sales order here, and then I want to read the material of the first line item in this, and then which means Matner, and then I want to append it in a new table. So we'll not take Matner. So we'll not take Posner, sorry. So it's like this IT underscore final type table of TY final, WA final type TY final, which is okay. So now what I want to do, I want to put a loop on this VBAK, and then I want to put a loop on this inside that, and then I want to append all the materials in this internal table. Let's say for all the line items, because every line item can contain a different material. So a simple way of doing this is loop at IT underscore VBAK into WA underscore VBAK, then loop at IT underscore VBAP into WA underscore VBAP, where weblen equal to WA underscore VBAK hyphen weblen, and then WA underscore final hyphen weblen equal to WA underscore VBAK hyphen weblen, which is, so basically this weblen we are moving here. You can move this weblen also, not a problem. WA final hyphen Matner equal to WA underscore VBAP hyphen Matner. So append WA underscore final to IT underscore final, end loop, end loop. So now we will be having the data here. We will be having all the materials in this internal table. You can put one more loop at IT underscore final into wa underscore final, write wa underscore final hyphen vbaln, wa underscore final hyphen so this is a pretty simple program. I'm selecting 100. What nonsense. So what I'm doing, I'm selecting 100 sales orders in from the header table, then I'm selecting all the line items related to those 100 sales orders. So let's put a breakpoint here just to see in debugging mode what is happening. Okay, so now we are into debugging mode. Let's see what is happening there. And one more thing I wanted to show you here is that you can do a system debugging on and off, which means let's say that you are debugging a standard transaction. Let's say it creates an invoice in the background. So you want to understand that which function module is actually creating the invoice. So while debugging, you may or may not able to see that function module because they might call it in background or in update mode. So what you can do, you can hit on this system debugging on and off. So if this is activated, you can see the standard code which runs parallelly to your code. So anyway, for now it's going to my code. It's ITVBAK. I got 100 sales orders. Something is messed up again. I got 100 sales orders here, and then I'm moving to my next select query. So I got 357 records here. So basically there is an issue with the source and target mismatch. Okay. Just because I referred the internal table to exactly as the structure, standard structure VBAK, and not selecting all the fields. So this problem is coming, and that's why we try to create a custom TY internal table type. Oh my god, once it hangs here, it takes like hell. So logging in again just killed all the sessions. So let's go to SAT. Okay, so we'll do it again. So got 357 records here, and then I'm moving all of them to IT underscore final. So what happens? I'm just doing a loop. Data is already sorted. So before loop inside loop, the data must be sorted. Whenever you use any loop statement, deal with the sorted data. So see what is happening here. First record came here. So this is my VBELN 69, and it went to IT VBAP. It will go and check the 69. It will append it. IT final, one record appended. Next. Next is 70. So this is how so data is moved here. 357 records we have here. it will be written in the output. So this is how we do our basic tuning, which means if there is a loop inside loop, there must be a where statement. But then one thing which we didn't see here is, in the backend, even if we put a where statement in the backend, system actually scans the whole table, that what all records are matching with this VBELN. So this is one way of doing it, but then it actually doesn't give the expected performance. So the other way of doing it would be, what I'll do, loop at it underscore VBAK into W underscore VBAK, and then what I'll do, I'll read table it underscore VBAP into W underscore VBAP, where, sorry, with key VBELN equal to VB W underscore VBAK hyphen so I'm reading the next table. If psi sub RC is initial, then I'm putting a loop at it underscore VBAK, and then I'm creating a local variable so I just read this internal table for that particular sales order, because it's having so many sales order. Then I got the index here, which means the record is available at which index. So if size of RC is initial, we will move that index LV underscore index equal to, so my site ABX moved here, we'll see in debugging mode. So loop at it underscore VBAK into WA underscore, sorry, it should be VBAP, because I read VBAP here, from LV underscore, then I'm checking if WA underscore VBAP hyphen VBELN equal to WA underscore VBAK hyphen VBELN, then we can move the values append it here, else exit LV underscore. Now let's try to understand the code. So let's say I got my sales order, first sales order. It went here, it got that the sales order is available at index 1. So if size of RC is initial, I got index 1 in this variable. Then I'm looping my internal table starting from that index 1, and I'm checking if both the sales orders are matching, then just do this operation, else you come out of the loop. So this is actually a better way of doing my loop inside loop. So let's debug the code now. Let us see how it goes. So data selected, okay. So this is my first sales order. What I did in this one, I'm just reading it that where that sales order is available. So I came to know that it's available at number 1. So my size of RC will move to, my site tabix will move to this, which is 1. Then I'm looping the second internal table starting from first place, started. If this and this is matching, then it's going to the new internal table. Next time loop runs, it's not matching, then it will clear the index, it will exit from the loop. So actually what is happening here is that it's not at all scanning the complete table. There what happens, system in the back end, when you do a where clause in loop inside loop, system actually scans the second internal table every time, but here we are not letting the system to do that, because we are not using the where clause at all, because that where clause is actually that creating all the problem. So we are not scanning the complete table. Next record is 70, system reads it, I know that it's available at second number, it goes here, same thing. So it will do it for all the line items. So now it's not matching, so exit. So this way, this loop inside loop will be faster than the earlier approach, and then I can just execute the report, I'll get that output. So this is generally being called parallel cursor method, wherein loop inside loop will be handled via read statement. So avoid where clause in loop inside loop. You might feel that this is also faster way, but actually it's not. In the backend system, every time scans the whole internal table, and it consumes a lot of memory also. So this is the parallel. Let's talk about the performance trace, which is again a very important thing in support project. So performance trace is basically there are two things here. One is like the SQL trace, which means the performance of your SQL statement in the program, and then the other is basically a full system trace, that is ST12. So ST05 is for the analysis of SQL trace and RFC table buffer and all. ST12 is the complete analysis of the transaction. So you can start the trace. You need to give the user, for which user you are actually doing the trace. Let's say I do it test SAP user server. I can select here, I know only one server is there. So what I'm doing, if I do a start trace here, so basically it's asking me to do a current mode because I'm doing it for me. Otherwise you'll ask the basis guy to put a trace, because you won't have the access to this. Basis guys will generally do the performance analysis. So if I do a current mode, we'll give the program name here, and then I can do a start trace here. If I execute this, if I go back, so it will take me back to the trace program. I can select this, so if I go to summary, it will give me some details. So whatever we saw in the other transaction ST05, we will be having this in a more comprehensive way at this place. So you can select your trace, which one you want, like this one or that one, select it, and then evaluate the summary or the performance. And there you will see that what all things are there. So this is the program. Here you can see that it's trying to fetch the data, which means trying to fetch the data from the table. So here you can see the table name, and you can see that here it fetched for only one times, where less than 100 or less than or equal to, which means we are fetching it for 100 records because I used up to 100. But then after this, it actually takes every sales order. You can see it actually takes every sales order and then goes inside the See, 69, 74, 79. So it actually takes every sales order and goes to VBAP. So that is how for all entries actually works as a loop inside loop internally, but we are not bothered because that is standard thing provided by SAP. So what you can do, you can download this trace in a local file, and then you can just sort the timings, like how much time it actually took for each select statement, and then you can analyze that which this is the duration, I mean microseconds. So like which particular select statement is taking a lot of time. So the same thing you could have done here is here by doing an activate trace with filter, give the username, the program name, and activate it. The other, and then deactivate the trace once you are done and display the trace. Almost same thing you'll see like what you are seeing here. The other important use of this transaction ST05, very important in perspective of AMS projects. So whether your SQL statements are optimized or not. So for that, what you want to check is whether the proper indexes are called in that select statement or not. So this will be what you can do. Go to enter SQL statement in ST05 and then write dummy SQL. Oh my god. So write a dummy SQL statement here. Let's say select VBELN from VBAK, where VBELN equal to 4960, like this. Don't put a full stop. So what I did, I am actually trying to write the same query, but I'm putting like where weblen equal to this, just trying to see what way system understands it. If I hit here explain, so again it's taking time. We'll just wait. Analyze, yeah, sorry. So you can see that estimated cost equal to 4, estimated row equal to 1, which means it will fetch only one record against this estimating. And then you can see that index skip scan VBAK 0, which means it's actually using the by default primary index VBAK 0, unique index, you can see. So whenever you write a select query and you are confused, what you need to do, you need to come to ST05. You need to come to ST05, you need to write a dummy query and then explain it. And then it will come here, you can further analyze it. Just you can come here, don't go with these things. So that is another important aspect of writing your select query. Enter SQL statement, analyze it for the performance. So performance tuning, I have already explained parallel cursor method, traces, loop inside loop. Obviously for parallel cursor method, the optimized way of designing a program. That's the way I created some of the programs some time back. Just go through those videos. And then the last one for this tutorial would be the important T codes. So as I said, ST05 or ST12 is a very important T code for performance perspective. The other important T code would be like ST22. This is actually the place where all the dumps, short dumps will be stored. So you can, like today we had some 4 dumps stored. So as an ABAP consultant, you are supposed to, you will be visiting this particular T code very frequently, and then you should also know how to analyze a short term. I have explained that in one of the videos, please go through that. So yeah, and then this is one. The other one is SLG1. So SLG1 is a T code wherein the application logs will be stored. So what you can do, for example, I gave my user ID and I want to understand that what all logs stored here for today. If I execute this, so if there was any failure in the standard application, that will be stored here. So if you are seeing some error in the standard transactions and your functional consultant is approaching you for some help, you can come to this T code SLG1, give the user ID, give the time frame like some 10-15 minutes plus minus for that date, and try to see if there is any application log exist. And then there are fair chances that you can for example, I didn't get anything here, so we will leave it. There are fair chances that you can see the error there, and that can also explain the root cause. The other one is SM12. It will actually store all the logs, mostly used by basis guys, but it will store all the logs for that particular user on that day. Then we have SM13. Basically, if there is an update request going on and then it fails, so it will store the data of that. So as of now there is nothing. So why that request actually failed? So it will contain the details. So these were some of the important T codes which you will be using very frequently on a day-to-day basis. ST05, and then yeah, I mean that's about it, and rest everything depends on the scenario, depends on case to case. So you can submit a program from a different program in foreground and background. You can skip the selection screen. It's like via selection screen, skip first screen. That enhancement is there. The parallel cursor trace, performance tuning. Some of the things I have explained long back, like read statement with binary search. Everything should be sorted. Or if you have a unique key and then hell lot of records, you can use a hashed table also, hashed internal table. I mean, select query should always follow proper index. Whatever you are selecting in the select query, it should follow the same sequence which you are having in the table. These are some of the aspects which you should be following for performance tuning perspective. Important T code, some of them I already explained. AMS project and everything I have explained. So I think we are good for today. And then I think I'm quite sure that we are now done with the reporting concepts. Next we will move to convergence from coming session, and then we will start with BDC. To just give a little bit on this, BDC is basically batch data communication, and then it becomes very useful during the cutover phase when we migrate the master data or some of the transactional data from your legacy system to ECC system or your SAP system. So how we do it, there are some recording concepts, there are some batch data concept, and also I'll explain it in the next session. But from next session we will definitely start with BDC. Once we are good with BDC and BAPI, LSMW I have not worked much, but then I'll give you some of the details on LSMW also. As a technical consultant, we generally don't work on LSMW. And then once we are done with these things, we are good to go with IDOC. Then we will move to IDOC. So normally interfaces and convergence both are like correlated, both are very much interlinked. So we'll just try to finish both of them together. So thanks guys, and then see you again.